guys, welcome back to Free Motion Friday. I'm Jen Frost with Faith and Fabric. Today we're going to be working on this lovely little quilt block. Now this is our Good Friday quilt block. It's available just as a quilt block. I'll put a link to that below, but it's also part of our Holy Week quilt. I'll also put a link to that below in case you're interested. Now this is the 12-inch block. These come in 3 sizes, but I wanted to kind of make a big one for us to practice on today. So today we're going to be working on some grass. Now we worked on grass a few weeks ago. I'll put a link to that up here. That grass was a very basic grass, because last year we were working on a lot of our beginner foundational free motion skills. So this year we're going to work on that next tick up. So a little bit more intermediate level. So that's what we're going to be putting down here, is filling this with some intermediate level grass. Okay, I want to show you, I've already gone through, you can probably see a little bit better on the back because it's blue. I've already gone through and I've put the star pattern all through the sky. I love the way this looks. This is my favorite filler for skies because those little stars, because they meander, I'll actually put a link to the star pattern here. Because those meander, they're a great filler. So that's what we're going to work on today, is another filler pattern for down here. Okay, so before we get started, like usual, we're going to first take a look at where grass appears in scripture. Matthew 6:30 says, "But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow can be thrown in the furnace, will he not much more clothe you?" Now, I needed to hear this today because I don't know about you, but especially with the times we're living in right now, anxiety, stress, worry, all those things are absolutely top of mind. I use that Marco Polo app with a bunch of my girlfriends, and we're always leaving messages on how we are just fatigued right now because there's just so much stress and so much anxiety. More so as right now, at least we go into our, second full year completing of the pandemic. And I love this verse because it's a reminder that if God spent that much time taking care of the grass and creating the grass that we're just going to go cut down, and every time we go out and cut our grass, or we're going to be getting rid of so quickly, isn't he going to take that much extra time and extra care of us? That so much time was spent on creating grass perfectly that it grows, and that, how many different varieties of grass are there? How many varieties there are of us? And I love that comparison, that if God takes that much time just creating a single blade of grass that's going to grow perfectly, how much more time and love is he going to give us? And that's a comfort, because with all these anxious times we're living in, it's nice to be able to just kind of let go and hit that reset button and let go of that worry, let go of that stress, give it away, and know that we always be taken care of. So let's take a look at 3 tips to complete this today. Your first tip is to plan ahead, so you always know where you're going to be going next and where your open areas are that need to be filled. Your second tip is to make the long base blade of grass extend away from the direction you want to move. Your third tip is to rotate and reposition your quilt at each turn. Now we're going to head over to the cutting table because I want to show you just how this works from an outline perspective. I used the word base blade just now, and I want to show you what I mean by a base blade, because it's that base blade that you're going to be coming off of each time you start that new grass. So let's head over. So here's a little sketch I was doing, just doodling. Honestly, you guys, is so important when you are working on your patterns, when you're working on different types of free motion design. So I encourage you to get a sketchbook, or these are just little scrap papers that we have left around the house from projects we've worked on, and I just doodle on them, and that's how we come up with a lot of the designs. So I want to show you a little bit more about this design here. So you see, I was just kind of doodling and just kind of figuring out, how do I like the design to look? Do I like it coming off of multiple points or not? And so today what we're going to do is work on recreating that here. So when you start with your quilt, you're going to be obviously probably in a corner. So you're going to create your grass almost like we did last, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago when we made some grass. So we're going to make some grass, except last time we were focused on creating grass on a straight line. This time we really want it to be a filler design. We want it to really fill everywhere. So you'll see I've created 3 blades, and now I'm going to create a blade that kind of goes long ways. So I'm going to go this way and I'm going to come back down. Okay. Now, the nice thing about this design, and we've talked about this in a lot of our videos, is you want to know where your stopping points are. Stopping points are points that are hard turns where you can stop your needle in the down position and you can turn your fabric without seeing an impact. because you never want to turn your fabric in the middle of a curve, because you're not going to be able to smooth that curve back out. So this is a great stop. So if this is my down needle, I can then turn my fabric, and now I'm going to come back and I'm going to fill this area here. So I'll give one more blade of grass this way. We'll give 1, 2, make this one curve up. And now I'm going to start the next long base blade. So I'm going to put a base blade this way. Okay, see how I did that? So now we'll turn it again, and we'll put a couple blades of grass. And I'm going to throw a long base blade, and I'm going to make this one curve in. So that way I can fill this little space up here. So we'll just come, you see, you're just kind of doodling. Now I'll put another long one. And now I'm going to actually come back this way. So you see, there's not like a hard set way. It's really just a lot of little doodles that you're making. And as you continue to create your curves and your grass blades, you're going to see this is going to fill in to create a really fun design that just looks like a lot of overgrown grass. Okay, so let's head over to the machine and give this a try. Okay, quick supply check. We've got our Slow Steady glider mat. Again, this is that complete friction reducing pad for free motion quilting. I've got some green sulky thread loaded in here. I love their threads. You can find links to everything below. And then I've got my little quilt here. So I've already pulled up my bottom thread, so let's get started. We'll do a couple blades together, and then like usual, I'll speed things up, and then we'll meet up at the end to do a review. So we'll start off here. I'm gonna come up a little bit. Here's our first blade. These corners are hard to get into here. Second blade will kind of curve that way. And you can see first off, again, we talked about stopping points. The bottom blade of each grass is a great stopping point. And you can also hear from my needle speed, I've actually changed the speed of my, the max speed, I should say, of my needle. So some of you guys might have speed controls on your machine. This is a good one, I would say, unless you're feeling very comfortable, to drop that speed a little bit. There's all curves in this, and if you're like me, you tend to race around those curves. This is just a great technique I found for making sure that by hearing the slower sound, I'm consciously moving a lot slower through it. So I'm at that great stopping point. You'll see I can now pick back up, we'll come up, and I'm gonna put a long blade coming this way, okay? Come back down. And now I'm gonna pivot my machine, and you'll see here, let's lift this up. I can turn the whole thing, and that's what's really nice about this is you can adjust at that base blade, and now when you continue sewing, you're going to have that ability to now pick back up and come up that blade to fill that space. So we'll come up. I'll put a small one here, and again, this is where we talked about having to plan ahead. I want to now put one big long blade that comes through, and I knew I had this edge over here. Here, I'll turn it so you can see better. I have this edge, and so I'm going to put one long one, and then I'm going to be using that as my new base blade to come off of. A nice long one to fill that space. Keep it nice and thin like grass is. And now I can stop. Again, rotate. I'm going to put a little blade right in here. One right next to it. And I'm going to come underneath that cross. Put a curve this way. One coming up. Let's see here. So I want to fill this area in down here. So I'm probably going to put a longer one here. We'll probably come around here. And you can see the nice thing is you're just kind of filling in that space. So I'm going to stop, again, turn, and I'm going to come back down this side. So you can see there's not really like a set pattern that you have to make as you're going through this. Your whole goal is just to use these blades of grass to continue to fill in. So I'm going to make one long one here that I can use as a base. Okay, we'll come out of it a little bit. And now I'm going to fill in my empty space here, okay? So I'm going to speed this up a little bit, and then at the very end, like usual, we'll take a look so we can compare our notes and see how we're doing. Let's see how it turned out. So here is our grass. You can see from the front, it has that really nice jagged curved edge. And I like this pattern, especially against this fabric. So this fabric has a lot of movement in it, and I wanted to capture some of those same curves without making it look like it was necessarily too rolling of a hill. So I like how we have a little bit more of that jagged grass. And I love what a great filler pattern is this, because it really fills that space nice. It works around edges. You know, the last grass pattern we used wouldn't have worked as well here, because if you have those straight edges and you're trying to keep that grass consistent, you know, it's going to be a lot harder to really navigate around the crosses themselves. So let's take a look at the back. So again, this has because this is a final project and not a test pad, it has a purple background, so it's a little bit harder to see, but if I hold it in the light, you can see the design pretty well here. So you'll see the design itself, again, is just that varied compilation of straight lines and curves with those straighter portions of the grass coming off of what we're calling our base blade, that really long blade that we create that forms that foundation for the majority of the next blades of grass that we put on there. So I hope you guys have fun with this. If you feel like sticking around a little bit more, I'll put a link up here for how we're actually going to put some hanging tabs on here. If you've never put hanging tabs on a quilt, it's a great way to hang a quilt through a dowel, as opposed to, you know, sometimes you could just put a sleeve on the back. I love that wooden look of a pretty dowel. So we're going to go ahead and work on that next. So you're welcome to stick around with us. Otherwise, we will see you next Friday for our Free Motion Friday class. I encourage you guys to just, you know, remember that little bit of scripture we talked about today. Try to let go of all that stress and that worry, and just remember, if God loved the grass so much to take care of it and create it so perfectly, He's going to take care of you too. We'll see you next week.